Happy Sunday, everybody. Come on in. Let's talk about this. Made you look, didn't I? You're probably like, what? Jen Weir called God a disappointment? What? I did, to make you guys look. Oh, that light is making me look old, too. Let's turn this. Yeah, that's not working. Oh, well. My vanity is getting the better of me today. I did. I made you guys look, didn't I? You're all kind of worried for me. Y'all are praying for me now, like, oh, she just called God a disappointment on Facebook. So listen, hop on in here. Let's talk about this. I'm going to give it a minute because I want you people to, hear this. And I'm hoping that you can hear me over that howling wind we have. If you live in Prosper or North Texas at all right now, it's wicked windy out. So, all right, guys, let's chit chat about this. All right, so today, when I was sitting in church, the pastor was talking about, how did he put it? I quote it. I wrote it down here. I want to quote it right. The way you perceive God is how you'll experience Him. The way that you perceive God is how you will experience Him. So I'm sitting there and I'm writing this down at church. And I'm like, oh my word, my Facebook friends have got to hear this. Except for, here's the deal. I'm not a pastor. I'm just someone who's experienced a lot of life. Clearly by my wrinkles. Are y'all loving that today? Oh my word, tired. And I just love Jesus and I love the Lord and I want to share this with you guys. So I'm going to try to do this justice. The way you experience God is the way you perceive God is how you will experience Him. Here's the thoughts that go through your head. God doesn't care about little things. I got this. I have a brain. Why? God gave me a brain. I'm going to go ahead and figure this out. God's too big to care about XYZ. Fill in the blank. I know this. I know you guys think this because I see your posts about the election coming up. Oh, yeah, I went there. Yes, I did. So, some of y'all are running around fretting, right? Okay. Show of hands. I'm going to wait for you guys to like or heart or mad face or whatever. Has God ever disappointed you? Have you ever been disappointed by God? You're totally lying if you say no, on account of we're human, right? Have you lost someone that you love too soon? Were you hurt physically or emotionally? Were you hurt spiritually, like by the church? My husband and I want to go to Boston to talk to a bunch of people who hate God now because of some few sinister people. When we lost our baby Judah, let me think, 11 years, it'll be 11 years in November. I've probably told you guys the story. When I was driving home, after the doctor said, there's no heartbeat, your baby died, I was pretty disappointed, to say the least. That was pesky. Pesky is a mild statement. I literally said out loud to God, I'll tell you, Rochelle, any disappointment, anything, whatever you would consider a disappointment where God, in your mind, fell short, shut the door, honey, then that's a disappointment. Not right now. Shut the door, I said, please. That's a disappointment. So I was driving home and I said, God, I know your word says to rejoice in all things, but I'm not feeling it and I'm not doing it. I was totally honest with God. Here's why. Because I know I've read my Bible. He can take it. Come here and sit with me. Yes, you may. He can take it. If you guys have read Psalms, He can take it. He can take us yelling at Him. I was pretty hopping mad, right? So here's what happens. We get disappointed, and nobody said they have been. I'm cracking up. None of y'all have said that you've been disappointed, so I'm like, y'all are lying. But that's okay. I'll just be here in my little self saying that I was disappointed by God. But so why is it that when we know who God is and we know that He causes all things together for good for those who love Him, that we run around, right? We stomp our feet like our 2-year-olds, and when we don't get our way, or when we've been disappointed, right? Sort of a, fine, then I don't like you anymore. And I'm not going to believe in you, or I'm not going to trust in you. That's what we do. Why do you think so many of you guys hopped on here right now? Because I said, is God a disappointment, whatever my title was. You're wondering, well, what does that mean? Like Rochelle asked, define that. Well, anything where we feel that God has let us down. But here's the thing, like this morning when I posted that little picture, God loves us so deeply and so passionately. He hurts when we do. It's not that he doesn't care when things don't go our way, or what we perceive to not have gone our way. We live in a fallen world. Free will is at play. And he certainly doesn't want robots. But the bottom line, he's writing a story. He's writing a story in your life. He's writing a story in my life. He's writing a story in my kid's life. I say to Zion so many times, buddy, God spared you from the worst cancer that anybody can get. He spared you. We know people whose children were not spared. They went home early. So I say to Zion, God has a story for you. Not that he doesn't have a story for kids who go home early. Their story was short but powerful. So I always say to him, God is writing a story. When you are disappointed, a lot of times it's because it's our perception of God. We feel like he should have done X, Y, Z. And so now we're experiencing disappointment in him. Does that make sense, you guys? If we don't experience pain, we will never grow. We'll stay like our little 2-year-old children, just stamping our feet, getting away. I know you guys have seen that at the market, right? When the little person is wanting cookies and mom's like, no, we're not having cookies. Sorry, just no. And they're stamping their feet and the mom's dragging them through the store. No, come on. And that mom doesn't buy the cookies. But that little person is screaming all the way to the car, right? We don't want to act that way forever. We can act that way, like when we lost our baby, I was stamping my feet. Or when we got the diagnosis that Selah was going to be born, I'm like, for real? 2 medical crisis, God? That's super not funny. I did. I threw my tantrum. But then I got on my knees and I thanked the God who made Selah, who made Zion, right? The Father wants us to have a relationship with him. He doesn't want a bunch of robots. So when we expect God to not allow pain in our lives, especially here in our Western culture, it's kind of sad how we are. We really want comfort. We really want peace. We want everything to be good. We don't want to hurt. We don't want any of that. That's human nature too. But really in the West, because we have buckets of money and buckets of food, we don't have to really want for anything. So when we do want for something, we start to get pissy, right? God wants us to be like Paul, like what he says. Learn the secret of being content in all things. Hey, Frankie. Oh, yeah, you're on. You're not at the fair today eating fried food. I'm just messing with you. Philippians 4:13. I know I've shared this before, but it's so misquoted so often. Because it says this, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. And we see it on bumper stickers, and we see it on kids' Bibles, and, kids at their, I know I called you out, Frankie, I'm just kidding. We see it quoted that, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. What things? And it doesn't say just some things. It's all things. If you look back, he talks about learning the secret of being content. That's the all things. Whether you have a lot, whether you have a little, whether God says yes or God says no, Paul says, I can do all of those things only through Christ. So it seems to me like there's a secret to it. There's a learning in that on how to be content when things don't go our way, when we're disappointed. When we have a lot, when we have a little, when our kids are well, when our kids are unhealthy. Learning contentment allows us to see God the Father for who he is no matter what happens. When the pastor today was talking about that, it made me think about how we perceive God and how we experience him. See, so many times because we're not content in all things, we're not content with our circumstances, the minute things go wrong, and you guys, I'm super guilty of this. Something will go wrong and I'm like, what? And I'm frustrated because something is not going the way I thought. Instead of going, okay, the moment I woke up this morning, God already ordained this day. He's already got this. He knew that there was going to be a bag of frozen vegetables and dip that had a cream base in the back of my car in 100-degree weather left in there for 3 days. That is a true story. I know that doesn't make any sense, but that is something that happened. I was just like, he knew on that same day when we'd find this rotten food in our van that we'd come home from our co-op and have the house be 85 degrees because our air conditioner was out again for the 3rd time in a month. He knew it. So instead of losing our minds, we're like, God, thanks for this house. We're so grateful. We're so grateful. Learning the secret of being content allows us to see God the Father for who He is no matter what happens. No matter what. No matter if you left those frozen vegetables in the back of your van for 3 days. That was so gross, by the way. It's just so gross. No matter if you come home to a really hot house and then it takes 2 more weeks to get that air conditioning fixed. Seeing who God is, knowing who He is so great because you know He's writing a story and all that. Even those little things. Guys, hear me. No matter who's elected. I told you I was going to go there. And now my Christian friends, I'm talking to you. Could y'all stop fretting? Stop scaring our children. Those of you guys who are running around on social media like chicken littles, you're scaring our children. People who don't know God are looking to people who claim they do know God and saying, well, shoot, if they're afraid, if they're fired up about the election, dang, well, I wouldn't want to hope in their God because he can't even handle that. Do y'all remember Nero? I mean, I'm just saying. Stop fretting. Stop scaring people. Stop scaring yourself. Stop worrying. Also Philippians. Maybe some of us need to memorize Philippians. Right here. This is my goal actually this year. Be anxious in some things, right? Is that what it says? Be anxious in nothing. Nothing. And some of you guys might be like, well, Paul didn't know Clinton or Hillary, or I mean, Clinton, yeah, that is Hillary or Trump. Oh, yeah, I know, but Jesus did. Jesus does. He knows. And yeah, and I imagine Jesus is doing a lot of face palms. But I imagine he's doing a lot of face palms when he looks at our social media feeds too. It's true. Sorry. I had to say it. Stop being chicken littles. Quit scaring everybody. Quit scaring yourself. Instead, get on your knees and thank God for who he's going to put there. Because here's what happened when Nero was I would say president, ruler. Persecution spreads the gospel. All my classical conversation friends, you guys know it's part of our timeline song. Persecution spreads the gospel. Because of persecution, because of hardship, for those of you guys who don't know God and don't understand persecution, oh, that's okay, honey. It spread the message of Christ. Do you guys realize that in places where hardship is rampant, people are on their knees more, the Christian faith is growing more and more than where there's prosperity? Isn't that weird? Something to think about. So are you guys perceiving God in a way that is not in line with who he really is? So go back to what Pete said this morning in our church. The way you perceive God is how you experience him. A lot of folks will say to me, you must have a hotline to God. Because it seems like whenever I pray, and the kids will even tell you, watch out when mama prays. Guys, my husband only wanted 2 kids. Look at, number 5. Isn't that funny? It's because I prayed. I'm just saying. It's not because I have a hotline to God, but I expect answers from him. I perceive God to be a God who answers prayer. Look at, I know, make your faces. Go ahead. He is a God who answers prayer. I expect him to answer me, and whether he says yes or he says no, that's okay. So I don't have a hotline to God. Miss Frankie says, hi, Sailor. I don't have a hotline to God, but I expect answers. I talk to him and I wait. And guys, a lot of times he'll say no. But he a lot of times says yes. But in his timing, in his way. I prayed and I prayed that God would change my husband's heart or my heart. And then we got pregnant with baby Judah. And you guys know what happened to baby Judah. He went home to be with Jesus. And I was like, that's mean, God. But God knit something so amazing in that. Do you guys realize that because I have held a dead baby that was mine, I can now weep with those who've done the same thing. I can weep with those who struggle with infertility. And I would never change it for anything. I just wouldn't. And neither would Mark. And the coolest thing is, you guys, my canon, my third one, or my fourth one, I guess, he will tell you, Mama loves me so much because, or sure, no, what will he say? How does he put it? Mama's grateful that Judah went home to be with Jesus, because if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be here. And you guys, he is so right. He's so right. And when we left the hospital with Cannon, I thought, oh, that's it. Mark Weir's not going to want to have 4 or any more. Exactly, Jim Bob. Comfort with those with the same comfort you've been given. Exactly. That's exactly it. When we left that hospital, I thought, I can't really 3? That's it. Okay, God, change my heart, change Mark's heart, whatever. The end of the story is we have our Selah Jane. My husband now is like, I don't know, should we go to India and get some babies, some baby girls? After the sermon today at church, I'm wondering if we're not going to fly to India, right, and get those little baby girls. It's just neat to see when you wait expectantly for God to answer you, what he does. He calls us to have faith like a child. Sometimes when God's taking forever, because sometimes I feel like, dude, you are taking a really long time to answer, I give him little ideas, just in case maybe God needs some help with me, you know, because I do that to my own husband, poor guy. I'm like, hey, God, what if you do it this way? And I imagine he's just like, oh, silly little girl. But that's okay. He's cool with it. I just have to have faith like a child. I don't have a hotline to God. Well, I guess I do. I have Jesus. You guys have the same thing, though, by the way. So I want to leave you guys with this story. My husband, hey, honey, Selah Jane. So you guys, it's tin whistle time in our co-op at homeschool, and it's my daughter's favorite subject. Baby girl, play that outside, okay? I hate the tin whistle. It's horrible. Anyway, my husband and I expect God to bless us in so many ways. Not because we're like, here, like a handout, but we're just like, God is so fun. And like, we love to sneak. Do you guys like to sneak give your kids gifts? Here's what I mean. Like, you're at the market and you think, oh, I bet they'd like those mints, or I bet they'd like that chocolate bar, or whatever. And so you bring it home and maybe you put it at the plate and it's Lucky Tray Day, right? And they get a little piece of chocolate or a little mint. My kids love those mints from Trader Joe's. We expect God to treat us far better than we would ever treat our kids. So God keeps showing up lately, and I love that he does that. He knows that Mark and I have been just in a rough season, just with him having shingles all summer, and it's just been rough. And I told you guys about the story of Trader Joe's with the gift card, which, you know, put a teeny weeny dent in our thing, but it was so great that they gave us that gift card, and then the little tote bag. But then today, I look onto Facebook, and I see my husband who's with my 2 little boys up in Colorado. And guys, I told him, I said, hey, Cannon, tell Daddy, you know, take you to Sweet Something or Other ice cream in Denver. It's the greatest ice cream place ever. If you guys are in Denver, go there. So I see they log in. Then he texts me. He's like, oh my God, I'm a weepy mess. We just got free ice cream. I have no idea how they got free ice cream, guys. But it was just, but here's what I know. God the Father saw fit to bless my husband. To be like, I'm going to give you some free ice cream today. That was just so sweet of Jesus to do for my husband. Just because so many times he doesn't have that kind of like, ooh, what's God going to do today faith like I have. I'm not saying that my faith is better. I'm just saying for him, sometimes it's harder. So guys, are you perceiving God in a way that is causing you to experience him in a way that isn't in line with his character? I would challenge you to read the book of John. Jesus in there, I swear, he's so funny. Read him changing water into wine. Look at that with fresh eyes. He gave the best wine. He set that couple up for life. Our pastor today talked about how that was, and probably 908 bottles of wine that those people at the wedding could never have drank. But that couple had it. It was the best wine ever. Anyway, again, told you, I'm not a pastor. Won't do it justice. Read the book of John. If you need a fresh perspective on who God is, read it. And then ask him to change your perspective so that you can experience the God that I experience. The God that my husband experiences. The God that Shelly, I know, girl, I know you're experiencing God in amazing ways. All right, guys, thanks for jumping on this Sunday. I love you guys. I prayed for you before I got on here. I'm going to pray for you after. I'm excited to see what God does in your life. Have a good Sunday.